Hello, my name is Vesile Yılmaz. I'm from Turkey and I'm a Turkish Ebru artist. Ebru is the traditional art of paper marbling. It originated in Central Asia around 600 years ago, and it traveled following the Silk Road to India, Iran. One technique traveled to Japan, and they call it sumunagashi, and from India and Iran to Turkey, and Turkish people changed this art to a very different level. They brought this art, they introduced this art to the world. And here I'm to show you how to make Turkish Ebru art. It's basically a kind of aqueous surface design. We work with a special liquid inside this tray. This liquid is prepared by red seaweed extract, which is called carrageenan. And the pigments are prepared by hand using mineral earth pigments. And the brushes are also handmade using horse's hair and rosewood. So we basically start by putting the pigments on the top of the water. Because this water is high in viscosity, the pigments are able to float on top of the water. And when we put the drops, we make sure that we are spreading them gently and equally all around the tray. Ebru art has a lot of spiritual connections because you're working with water. You follow the philosophy of water by being flexible and then being humble, also being open to change. It teaches the practitioner to be patient and to accept the fact that we are not in charge, we are not in control of everything in life. Because working with a liquid is pretty hard. You need to learn to let go of the expectations and be happy with whatever the water helps you create. Once the surface is full and you are happy with it, you can start using those tools to manipulate the patterns and create any design that you wish. There are around 16 traditional designs in Ebru art. Those designs are called nightingale's nest, stones, feathers, zebra, and shawl. Some of them are shawl. Also, there's a lot of chemistry and science involved in this art because air temperature, humidity, and air pressure changes how your paint will look like, especially on the surface of the water and on the paper, it might look totally different. And when you notice that the surface is full, you can use those tools to manipulate the pattern. These tools are called biz. Biz means both of us in Turkish. The meaning comes from the fact that when you create this art, it's not only you, it's also nature or the creator who helps you create this beautiful pattern on the surface. And that's why it's against the tradition for Turkish marblers to sign their work, because they cannot claim the ownership of an artwork that they create. There are all different types of combs you can use. And when you are happy with the design, then you transfer it on paper. Ebru can be transferred on paper, silk, ceramic, any porous surface will work. And this part we call happy taps. You need to feel the coolness of the water, and we believe that's when the exchange of energies happen. You feel the energy of water and you let it purify your thoughts. This is a combed Ebru. This pattern is called a combed Ebru because we use the comb to create it. And the paper usually dries in 15-20 minutes. I'll put it to the side to dry, and then I'll make another one. You can go ahead and clean the ghost pattern on the surface because that residue will appear on the next paper if you don't. A very magical ingredient that we use in Turkish Ebru is ox gall. Ox gall doesn't smell very pleasant, but it's the key ingredient in Turkish Ebru because it is a surfactant and it helps the pigments spread in circles. Also, it helps the pigments hold their own colors on the surface of the water. For example, when you put yellow and then when you put red, you will not have orange. They will not mix because of ox gall. Similarly, ox gall works like a glue. It helps the paint stick on the paper. Now I can see on this part the pigments cannot spread, but on this part they do. So this means there's a kind of contamination on the surface of the water. I have to clean it one more time. Like I said, it is a very tricky art to prepare. It's very simple to perform, but preparing those pigments and being able to read what the water is trying to tell you is an important part of being an Ebru artist. Usually it takes up to 5 years to master this art. One more time. It doesn't always work, so you learn to be patient, you learn to go with the flow. Actually, you learn to be a part of the flow. See, now it's working. Ebru is one of those arts that you take the picture of the moment. Every art piece you create is actually monoprint. It cannot be replicated. It cannot be made one more time. When the pigments do not spread like this one, you add ox gall because ox gall changes the surface tension of the pigment and it allows the pigment to spread. There. I'm making nightingale's nest right now. Every pattern has a story behind it. Nightingale's nest is all about the nature because nature has cycles and it represents the seasons, how things work in an order that we most of the time observe and feel fascinated about. For example, tulip represents God because there's only one on each stem. There's only one tulip that grows on each stem. As soon as the paper touches to the surface, it absorbs the paint. And one more. I'll try to make a flower for you today. To create a flower, we need to fill the background with a light color. And then we gently swirl the pattern. And then you drop another color right in the middle of the circles. This is called Hatip Ebru'su. Hatip was a famous orator in Turkey who lost his life trying to save his marbled papers from a fire that caught his house. This is in 16th century. So he created this pattern by playing around with the drops that we make. And unless you come from a marbler family, it was impossible for you to learn how to marble, because marbling was kept as a secret for so many years. The reason for that is that marbling was used as a cryptology. For example, Ottoman empires, sultans used marbled papers in order to prove the originality of the official documents. Also, the edges of the official documents were marbled because it would avoid alteration. You wouldn't be able to rip any pages from the book because it would break the pattern. Oops. So if you would like to try marbling at home, I'll be happy to help you, and I wish you have the chance to try this amazing art, because this is going to be an unforgettable experience for you. So good luck, and thank you for listening to me.